Yeah, hello, welcome again to this course Fixed Wing Glider Design. So, today we will talk about the phases of flight. So, what are the different phases of flight? So, here you can see this is flight planning, pushback, taxi, takeoff, domestic oceanic cruise, descent, final approach and the landing. These are the nomenclature basically. So, here you can see one aircraft here. You can see there is one aircraft and it is trying to take off. When it takes off and it climbs to a certain height, you can see it is climbing, and after getting a certain height it try to cruise. So, cruise, it means it has to maintain the height and the velocity of this aircraft. Velocity of the aircraft basically, and after that when it reaches to its destination airport and it tries to descend, basically it is reducing the height basically, and when it reaches towards the airport then it lands. So, basically here it is take off and here it is landing, here it is cruising, and here it is climbing. So, this is climbing phase, this is takeoff phase, this is climbing phase, this is cruising phase, this is descent phase, and this is the landing phase. So, these are the phases of the flight basically. So, in the takeoff phase, what happens when an aircraft accelerates and reaches a certain velocity? Because of the aerodynamic forces, and aerodynamic forces are dominant in that velocity, the aircraft can leave the ground by generating lift through wing and by deflecting the control surfaces on it. So, here you can see one aircraft, it tries to take off. Yes, now it took off, you can see it is trying to deflect here. These are the control surfaces. If you see in this area, there are control surfaces and it has deflected these control surfaces, and because of that deflection it has lift in this direction, LIFT, lift in this direction. That is why the aerodynamic forces, see the aerodynamic forces basically because of air, because of movement of air. When aircraft it reaches some certain velocity, so aerodynamic forces will be acting on that aircraft and it pushes the aircraft towards up. So, in that condition it is taking off. When in this phase it is climbing phase. When an aircraft takes off, your aircraft already took off, it starts climbing to a certain height. In the first slide I have shown you what height. So, for cruising it has to attain some particular height by changing flight conditions. So, here you can see it is trying to climbing like this, see. So, basically this aircraft it is maintaining some angle theta, right now. If you maintaining some angle theta, definitely you will go forward, and its height will be increased, and after some time the height will be constant in the next phase basically. So, this is what called cruising phase. Cruising phase, that means it has to maintain its height basically, its height and velocity. So, the biggest advantage of that cruising in this in this phase, less fuel consumption, less fuel consumption will be there if you cruise. So, here you can see, you can in the left side, one man, he is sitting on a plane and it is trying to just cruise. Basically cruising, that means he is enjoying the flight, because there is no much more deviation in the flight, because it has constant velocity and constant height. Basically constant, you see, if you have constant velocity and constant height, then everything will be fine, you will be fine basically. Yes, in the descent phase, when it approaches, when see one aircraft, it is approaching towards the runway, basically towards the runway. So, this is what called descent phase. Here the descent phase has been started in this condition. So, a descent during air travel is any portion when aircraft decreases altitude. It has climbed, then it has cruised, then it will try to descend. So, basically this will be the trajectory of an aircraft. So, here it is trying to descend, basically it is reducing the height. Here you can see it is reducing the height. So, this is what it is, this is what called descent phase. Descent phase. Yes. Now, this is what the landing. So, landing is the last part of the flight, basically where aircraft returns to the ground. Aircraft usually land at an airport on a firm runway. So, generally constructed of asphalt concrete. Here you can see there is one aircraft and it is trying to land, and it has successfully landed in the runway. And in the right side you can see, because the velocity is very high, if anything mishappens, so this kind of landing experience one can have, this kind of landing experience. So, you can see this is how much catastrophic and fatal. So, landing should be smooth like this. In your first flight, in the left side you can see how smooth it is. So, you can see so many lives are involved, that is why this is aviation industry, it has so much of importance. So, for today, for this session, I think we can meet another session. So, until then, happy learning, tata, bye bye, take care.